Right. Well, this is interesting. So somebody said, I don't know what triggered this. It was apart from the fact I found this amazing image, but somebody said about the, sort of um, the drawing thing, drawing one thing, drawing faces. I mean, I draw faces all the time because I like drawing faces, and I only do what I like. So I'm in that fortunate position. I don't feel the need, as I said the other day about the brush pen thing. If I thought the brush pen would help me to, get where I wanted to go. Hang on, that camera's a bit too low now. Let me just see if I can. That's probably better, and a bit more. You can probably see the reference a bit better anyway. But I just feel as though I was trying to do something with the pen and ink that was to prove a point, if you know what I mean. And in a way, this is a bit like that. This is, but the prove the point that drawing is drawing is drawing. And the medium thing is another, because there's complications of how the medium works, and how you have to change the way that you apply or render something. Depending, if it's pen and ink, you can't do that. The sort of mid-tone thing without creating hatching and all the rest of it. So, but the drawing is drawing thing, and regardless of whether it's a face or a dog. You know what I mean? So it really makes no, it should make no difference. But obviously, there are anatomical differences, and we're not talking about it being there are elements of it that there is no triangle, by the way. There's no triangle, and the distance is always the same and all that shite. Sorry. But the things that you focus on should be sort of no difference. This is not the eyes and the nose and the and the ears kind of thinking. This is and somebody said yesterday about me seeing the lights and the darks early on. I think that's a consequence. I think that's a consequence of the seeing the key elements early on, identifying the key elements early on, and working back from that. So what makes this face is the question. What is it that I have to focus on to make this face? And that is, I mean, it's not a literal question, because I'm not asking that. I'm just drawn to those things. So, but once you've identified those key things, everything else falls it falls in line, if you like. That's probably this, as I said, that's why it's true of everything, really. What's important about this thing that you're drawing, it doesn't have to be a face. It can be a building. It can be a plant. It can be a flower. What's important about these things, this thing, and that's what you focus on. And it's, as I said, it's the same for everything. It doesn't matter what you're drawing or what you're painting. It's the same for everything. But as you can see, it's more or less follows the same process. I struggle to use that word process, because I don't necessarily think it is a process, but if you know what I mean, it goes through the same gears. It goes through. Let's find where the key elements are. Let's build the shapes around the key elements, and then start. And then obviously the building the key elements. This is when he said about the guy said about, and if you're watching, when you said about the lights and darks early on, it's because I use tone to define shapes, so it looks like I'm actually defining the lights and darks, but what I'm doing is I'm defining the shapes with tone. And it's not always, as I said before, it's not always about, at that stage, it's not always about the definitive tonal values. That's a little bit of a no-no for me, because I can't maintain visual accuracy when there is an imbalance in tones. My eyes are drawn towards the inaccuracies, and consequently, I'm unable to fix the things with any kind of accuracy, because I can't really see them. It's the thing about the camera and the sun and taking pictures of the field and all that kind of thing when the sun throws the meters out. It's that kind of thing. So over density, overuse of densities early on will, for me, throw my visual comparison out. It's just, I say, it's just me. I think it's the same for everybody, but I wouldn't like to say you must do it like that, because you may not have that problem. It's just my visual referencing meter, if you like, as opposed to a light meter, is a bit sensitive to tonal imbalance. One thing I would say about dogs' faces or animal faces, I suppose, full stop, is they do kind of conform to a certain familiarity, in terms of their components. So I would say that it is easier than drawing a face. It shouldn't be any different, as I'm trying to prove now, but it's not. It's not a difficult thing to do. I think the difficulty is in the with pet portraiture of any kind. I think the difficulty is in the execution, the skill that's required to. And I've got friends who do it, and the skill that's required to actually render fur and all that sort of stuff is just incredible. But unfortunately, I don't want to offend anybody. It is just skill. Don't think that you can't do it because of the quality. There's only one real pet for me. There's only one real pet illustrator, but it's not, or painter, if you like, Jennifer Guinieri, I think her name is. My goodness me. But that woman can draw anything and paint anything. So just don't think that it's just pets, but she can paint animals and cats and jaguars and God knows what else. And she's just amazing. So if you want to see how it should be done, check her out and just be prepared to be amazed for what she can do. I think that shows other people, but you watch her brushstrokes. Their brushstrokes are portraiture brushstrokes. They're sergeant brushstrokes. They're not the overworked kind of laboriously applied kind of marks that you see in a lot of pet, as an attempt to replicate fur to the nth degree, the pencil portrait kind of people. It's not like that. She's fabulous, really is. And I think a lot of people do sort of try and replicate her style, I think. And I think she teaches, so it's obvious that people are going to end up doing it like she does it. But she is really good. I can see how people would like to do this, though. I can see it being a thing, drawing animals. Not necessarily pet portraiture, because I would imagine that's quite a difficult thing. If you get into that, people send you a dodgy picture of Tiddles or of a bull mastiff called Tyson, and it's not well lit, and the poor dog cocking his leg against a lamppost or something, and you've got to try and make him look cute, or not, as the case may be. Some might not want them to look cute. They might want the opposite. But other than that, apart from that, doing the as a business, apart from that, I bet it's great fun drawing animals. And they obviously work from photographs because they'll not keep still, obviously. Although I think people do try, and I've seen people drawing the cats when they're asleep and all that kind of stuff. That's obviously it's doable then, but I couldn't imagine trying to, we had a Jack Russell and he didn't keep still at all. So attempted a few times when he was asleep. As soon as he saw me doing it, he jumped up and went straight to his lead and wanted to go out for a walk because he thought, well, he's doing nothing. He can take me for a walk. So, never really got to do it with Sparky. His name was Sparky, and could probably do it with a cat, but the cat is we've got a cat now, Pablo, but we could do it with Pablo, but he tends to cover everything up when he's asleep. He will sit and kind of doze, sat upright. So I could do it like that. Got no intention of doing it, mind. I have no inclination to draw him. So that's back to the thing of I draw what I like. Yeah. Another example, though, I think of the dexterity and the flexibility of charcoal is that it can handle this kind of thing with ease. It's not and it's not the fact that it can create tones. I don't think that's the thing. I think it's a smooth toned photographic tone kind of thing. And you imagine drawing something like this with graphite, it would be weeks of laborious mark making and smudging and God knows what else. So I don't think it's I think that charcoal probably, as it does with drawing humans, it lends itself because of its tonal capacity and tonal range. It lends itself to something to in a way that it expedites the process. Because I like that. I like the as you can tell with the way that everything's so quickly rendered. I like the way that you can get to things quickly with charcoal. So suddenly I'm going from some very light, delicate marks. I'm going to some dark like that. That suddenly it's dark. But that's all what I was talking about yesterday with the the velocity and attack velocity and pressure thing. It's that, and I don't think you can do it with graphite. I don't think you can suddenly go from a very faint mark to a very dark mark and have the same tonal not value, color. Because one of the things that's interesting about charcoal is that regardless of its, and I don't know if this is a thing or I see it, but I'm not sure it's a thing. But and I see it because of the charcoal that I make. It kind of displays these factors, these elements. That if I make a lighter tone with this same piece of charcoal and suddenly go to dark, it's the same color. I know it's not color, but it's the same color of gray or the same color of black. And I think that's probably, again, it might be the charcoal. I don't think it is. I think it's the same if it's whether it's willow or shopbot willow or vine or whatever. I think it's always the same that. But it's that, and if it works with pencil, but with graphite. But the problem with graphite, I think, is the shiny thing. If you want to get to a darker, a kind of value, and you apply it with serious pressure, it's going to get shiny. So you'll switch to a bit of charcoal or whatever, or a charcoal pencil, and then all of a sudden you've got a different color of black, a different color of gray. And that's, as I said, that's a big thing for me. I like the because it doesn't cause tonal imbalance, and that's another big thing for me, the tonal imbalance thing. So I'm again, charcoal kind of wins hands down. Somebody asked me today about, do you always work in charcoal? Well, partly yes, because of that. that it's the colour thing, and I can maintain, I can reach tonal values that I want to get to. And the other thing is that it's easy to store charcoal. And that again is a big thing for me. Space wise is I can't really commit to like lots of. I was going to paint today. I'm thinking about painting, and I'm thinking about painting big, and I'm worried about where I'm going to put it when I've finished, or when I'm going to put it when I'm waiting for it to dry, which is more likely the reason why I wouldn't do it. But the charcoal, I don't have any of that problem. I do now because I've got too many folders now. So not only am I concerned about the storage of oil painting, I'm concerned about the storage of charcoal now. Not so much though. I mean, obviously I can get 80 in those folders. Some of them got 100 and 120. But yeah, it's a problem, but it's not a problem really, is it? But as I said, going back to charcoal, this is kind of what charcoal does. It does all this undulating and flowing mark making, which again is the thing I was talking about yesterday, because we got this problem with somebody was really sort of going for it and doing the line making, and it's not really. It's one of the main problems I think that people have with charcoal. One of the main reasons that charcoal fails is because of this reluctance to because if you come from graphite, you apply pressure when you draw, but you don't apply pressure so much. You do sometimes, but you don't apply pressure in the same way when you're working with charcoal. So that is a big problem. It's probably more apparent in something like this as well, because this is one of those things where you really want to let the sort of the charcoal flow, if you know what I mean. This thing of it, sort of I'm doing it now. It's kind of a much more, as I said, a flowing mark. It's the kind of thing that it does make even the lines contain a kind of a rhythm to them, so that it isn't a rhythm. It's not a continuous thing, so it's no rhythm, but it has that kind of flow about it. And I think that's the whether that's charcoal control or not, I don't know. I mean, you could say it was that. You could also say that it's a bit of a dithery kind of thing, and I don't want to commit too much at one time, so I tend not to press so hard on it, and it just it makes just enough of a mark for me to decide on whether it's the right mark, and I'll gradually go back and build things up. So you could say it was that, but I think that, as you can see, the general approach to it is exactly the same as working with a human face. There's no and if I wanted to apply this to drawing landscapes, I'd do the same thing with a landscape. Although I really I'm not moved to draw landscapes. It's just not my thing. I think the reason why I like faces, apart from its it's much more I don't know, fulfilling, engaging, whatever. I'm probably not drawn to cute animal faces. That's what it is, or animal faces. I'm a animal person. I'm a cats and dogs and everything, but I'm not drawn to them in the same way as others. So I think there's partly that, but I think with people, there's the intransigence of the human soul. It's that kind of thing. It's and I if I didn't paint them, I'd probably take photographs of them. It's that thing. But and you could say the same thing about dogs, I suppose, or animals, pets. You could probably say the same thing. But I'm only drawn to it for my own You see, people are drawn to their animals, and that might, if they're artists, might make them able to capture their the soul of their pet. But I see. I can't. If my thing is to capture the essence, I don't have. Other than it's a cute little face, I don't have any sort of human response in the same way I would with another human, and that, as I suppose, is another one of the reasons why I don't do them. I wouldn't have the same emotional response. You know, the thing about emotional observation thing. Humans, it's a different matter when it comes to that kind of stuff. But yeah, it's. It's just thinking now. Tell me what this dog's name is. If it's not Scruffy, what is it? You know what I mean? It's one of those faces, guaranteed. It's either a Scruffy or a Teddy. You know, those sort of the typical British names. It's like Alsatians or German Shepherds will be called Prince. You know, it's one of those things. There's so many, and I like human names. I mean, for animals, I just think especially dogs. You know, if you're out shouting the dog back and it's called Kevin, I love all that. I think it's just, and I've heard people with some crazy names for the dogs just because of the comedy value. You know, so when they're out with a dog, they can call it, and it's called something like, I don't know, come here. You know, but no, Pablo was named. My sons named him, and they said it was after Pablo Escobar, and I thought that was a bit incorrect, if you know what I mean. And I prefer to say that he's called Pablo after Pablo Picasso, because everybody in our house is an artist, and even the cat has been adorned with a great artist name, you know. So, but that's my that's my version of events. They will disagree, but yeah, I'm sticking with my explanation. But like I say, it's exactly the same. It's no different to drawing faces. You go through the gears, which is find the locations, build the shapes, apply the tones. That's it. You know, it's not any different. And every case and every scenario, it's always about getting things in the right place. And the reason why you get things in the right place is because of relationships. So look at the relationships of things. Look, I mean, there's only three things and a tongue that you need to worry about in that situation. And obviously, you've got alignments, you've got horizontal alignments, you've got vertical alignments. Do all that. You do all that as almost like an automatic. You want to get in a place where it's an automatic thing. You don't have to be ruling up and putting, like I said earlier, putting triangles around things. You don't have to be doing all that. Just learn to see better. That's all it is. And that you can practice that. You can practice that with you can use the dot test to find out how accurate you are currently, and then you can then work on that accordingly. And it's nothing. But after that, it is down to how you manipulate the tonal values, and it's as I said, I don't know if I started doing this, it's exactly the same. It's exactly the same. Right. Actually, love you, leave it. The only thing I'm going to sort out on it, really, if I was going to sort anything, but I probably won't, is just a little bit of the shaping around the face there. Take some of the tones back around the eyes, and then put a little bit more into the into the fluffy curls at the top there and things. Just bring those up a bit. But that's it. I wouldn't. Maybe just make things a bit more precise. That kind of thing. And Yeah, turn that edge down like that. I think the relationships thing, people try and find relationships through measurement, but I think it's just comparison. I think it's just a comparison of things, the comparison of the size of that eye, or the shape of that thing there, the recess under his eyebrow or his eyelashes, whatever that is. It's the size of that in relation to that, and then in relation to that, it's always the relationships. But that's still seeing. That's still how accurate you are with the dots is really an indication of how accurate you will be with the relationships thing. And then if you are accurate with relationships in terms of size, you'll also be accurate in relationships in terms of tonal values. So these lighter values here, you will see those in relationship to the darker nose. You will see them in terms of all the various. You see how it gets slightly lighter under his eye there. You'll see all those things. You'll see all those relationships. They're only tiny little things, but that they all make the whole. They're all part of the overall effect. And that's a great word. Effect is a great word for this. So you're always looking for an effect, a way to give the effect of. To go back to the implication suggestion thing, you're always looking for a way to do exactly that. Something. So you're looking for a mark that will, or a tone, or a line even, that will give the effect of hair or fur or whatever. You can see how this would be built as a, you could spend a couple of hours on it and you'd have an amazing pet portrait. The danger is, like with all these things, is and like one of the lessons yesterday we were talking about, the being brave enough, I suppose, to stop. But it's not being brave, it's just stopping yourself in the sweet shop, that kind of thing. Because if you're doing this and you're having lots of fun, it's like trying to take sweets off a kid, because you're just enjoying it so much, you keep going. And that's the thing. So it's not about being brave and deciding that I don't care what people think, I'm finishing it. It's not none of that. It is really about holding yourself back because you're having such a good time, and that you want to be in that position, but you don't want to be in not having a good time because it looks great. That's irrelevant. You're having a good time because you're doing this. This is the thing. And I think that's what people kind of forget sometimes, that it's just about the doing. I've got a student at the moment who's having a terrible time, they think, with things not being right, they think, but it's just a reflection on their mindset. That's all that is. That's a thing that affects everybody. I think that's the judgment of their competence, or whatever you want to call it, or their outcome, is based on a predetermined and completely unconscious decision as to whether or not it works or not, and what something's successful or not, and that's a big thing as well. You've got to be careful, at what point you decide it works or it doesn't work. What is it that determines that? Sometimes you don't know. It's the reason why I think when I make some marks sometimes, and I think, well, why did I make that mark? And I think somewhere in the annals of my exposure to doing this, something registered. It may have been looking at sergeants or whatever, something registered, and it becomes, and this is how clever the brain is, it then regurgitates that. And how often have you done them? I've certainly done it. When you made a mark, you think that looks so much like a sergeant mark, or it's, the style of it is so similar. And that, I have to stop myself from doing that because it's not a good thing. It means that somewhere deep down, I've got this measure, this metric that is misplaced. Yeah, it's, there's the sergeant's work is amazing and wouldn't you like to be able to do it kind of thing, but that's not what this is about. It might be for some, and it might be the way that they define their success, because it's similar to, or it's like, or whatever. And there are people that do that, the people that do the master copies and all that, as if there's something that can be learned from it other than how they mix the paint and how they, apply the brush marks. But, as I said, I'm very wary of, from my own point of view, of that sort of creeping in to my way of doing things. I only said process again, but I'm determined not to use that word. And I think apart from a bit of a faff down here needs to be a little less faffy, but by that I mean too much work on it. It doesn't need all that work on that there, and a bit more. A bit breaking up a little bit there because it's too. So the amount of work on it started to look a little bit like a little bit too much like effort. And then this bit here, which is lighter than with the lighter fur showing there. So it's probably going to have, if I was to take it further, it would probably have a little bit of a tint there. So at the top of the lighter parts, the top there could be shown. But I think the main thing was, I said, I wanted to show that it doesn't really matter what you draw. You can still apply the same kind of thinking. And you should apply the same kind of thinking. It's probably what I'm trying to say as well. A little bit, his collar's a little bit too low down, but hey, I think it's a bit like drawing flowers. You get away with an awful lot when you draw. I think you see his collar should be about there, right? And then it comes out there like that, and then down like that. Then you've got it's more like there, and underneath there, and then there's a few. Yeah. So I'm going to stop now before I start to draw it properly and get carried away with it and spend another hour on it just to for no reason, because I want to do this other thing. As I say, I'm still in the mind that I want to paint something, but I'm also concerned about the size of it. But I'm still engaged with the tonal side of things at the moment. So if you can see me adjusting the tones here, and the highlights only just there, so I can really come back to where so the highlights just there, you see. It's not anywhere else, it's just there. So I take that out underneath it, and then around, and then as I say, I'm going to stop and before I go too far with it, before I start to this is what you're seeing now is what the problem that happens. You start having fun with it and you just can't stop. It's like a roller coaster. I still maintain it's like the rodeo though. In the first stages when you're like, you're on it. And I would imagine when you're, if any of you are watching who've done it, I would imagine once you're on that horse, you want to stop on that horse. Not so much fun though. I don't know if it's fun or what it is. I imagine it's more adrenaline than anything else. Although I think I do experience an adrenaline rush with this. I'm pretty sure I do in the early stages, certainly. Right, as I said, I'm going to leave it at that before I go too far with it. Right, I will. I might do something later. I'm going to do this big, whatever it's going to be, and we'll see how the day goes. If it's painting or drawing, I don't know, and whether or not I've got time to do it, I don't know. But yeah, a dog. I do these occasionally. But so a friend of mine actually asked me to draw their dog as a challenge. That was the last time. Anyway, I'll catch you in the next one.